Hello, so today I'm going to be talking about my first impressions of England and English people, coming from an Irish person after spending a week in England. So I actually did a road trip through England like 7 years ago, but on that trip I literally kept to myself, didn't really get talking to English people. It was very much just get from destination to destination and didn't mix with anyone. But in 2022 I did another week-long road trip through Scotland and Northern England, and this time I very much mixed with people in every place we went to. We did a lot of what I would consider stereotypically English things. I feel like on that trip I made a bunch of assumptions on English people and what it's like living in England. And I don't know if they're right, but I'm going to share them with you. So yeah, before I start my impressions of English people, let me just say, as an Irish person, you are brought up with hate in your veins for the English. Not really, but obviously we're brought up with a very thorough understanding of our history with the English and how that has impacted our country. And so there is a long running joke that the Irish people hate the English, and I mean, we will all make jokes about it, we will give English people a hard time, but it's all in good fun. So it's not serious, but we all do it. I feel like people will expect that I'm going to say I hated them, they were rude, and have all these problems. But that might not be the case, to the point where I hope I don't offend any Irish people in this video either. But anyway, my first impression, I'm going to say this one first because this was the one that I really liked, and it was that English people absolutely love dogs. And it was incredible, because I'm not saying that Irish people don't love their dogs, they definitely do, but it's a different level than how much they do in England. No matter where we went in England, every second or third person had their dog with them, whether it was on a hike, a walk, at tourist attractions, in pubs, in restaurants. Everywhere we went, there was dogs. It seemed very normal to bring your dog into a restaurant, which I found incredible, because Ireland, I'm sorry, we just have not reached that level. You cannot bring your dog into 95% of restaurants or pubs. Whereas in England, when you walked into a pub, they would literally have dog bowls outside and treat bowls to give your dog. But there was one pub in particular, and they literally had a line of dog bowls outside with about 10 bowls of water and stuff. And I mean, it just made me so happy. I just feel like everywhere we went, I was stopping to ask people if I could pat their dogs, and it was absolutely incredible. And it just made me realise that the Irish people need to catch up with this. Impression number 2 I got was friendliness. Now, I know the Irish have the reputation for being the friendliest people in the world, but I actually found that English people were friendlier than Irish people. And I feel like I'm gonna get so much hate for saying this, but I feel like, I'm Irish, so I can say this, right? We are friendly. We do say hello to people on the street that we don't know, and we do talk to people in queues in shops and stuff. But I feel like the Irish people are friendly, but more so to be polite than to actually be friendly. I say hello to people on the street because I think it's rude not to. Yeah, do you know where I'm coming with this? Sometimes you're nearly friendlier to strangers than to people you know, out of politeness is what I'm trying to say. But English people, I just thought, were so friendly. Wherever we went, I would get into conversations with people just on the street. So one example is when we went into a restaurant, there was a couple on their wedding anniversary, and they just talked to us throughout our meal. Every now and again they would pop in and have little conversations with us and then go and do their own thing again. But it happened for the entire meal. So when they found out we were Irish, they started telling us all the things we needed to do, all the places we should go. They were really offering up chat to us. Whereas in Ireland, I've never had a full-blown conversation with someone for the entirety of my meal in a restaurant, do you know? You'd say hello, you'd say thank you and please, we'd be polite. But I just found the English wanted to talk and wanted to get into these big conversations, which was actually really nice. So yeah, English people are friendly, and possibly friendlier than the Irish. I've said it now. Right, and I have to say this one, right, because it was a camping holiday, so we went in a camper van and we were staying in campsites. But camping in England is a whole other level than Ireland. And I said this on TikTok and people were annoyed and they said, we're like that in Ireland too. And I'm sorry, we're not. And I even stayed in campsites in Scotland and they were completely different than England too, right? English people bloody love camping, but luxury camping. So we stayed in campsites and people would have tents bigger than my parents' house. They were absolutely huge. And they'd have all this incredible extravagant equipment. that I feel like most Irish people would not even think to bring camping. So like some people literally had a full patio set of furniture, and I'm not talking like fold up chairs or anything. I mean expensive looking patio furniture. They'd have like a whole garden area set up outside with like, I mean, obviously not like a picket fence, but they'd have like barriers up for their little garden areas. They'd have a little porch on the entrance to their tent where like they take off their shoes, and they'd have shoe racks. It was just very, very high level of camping that I've never seen anywhere in Ireland. And I have stayed in Irish campsites, by the way, so I am comparing it to what I've seen. But yeah, they just really like camping. Every morning you'd wake up and they'd all be like out rolling around like their water tanks and emptying things, and I don't know, they just seem to really like camping. Much more than Irish people. So yeah, I found that quite interesting. Now, I have quite a bad impression, to be honest, of like the whole like restaurant food situation though, so maybe this will redeem me with the Irish people. But eating in a restaurant was just weird in England for multiple reasons. So, number one, the big thing I wanted to do in England is get a roast dinner. Like I just feel like a roast is such a like typically English thing, and I just really wanted to experience a roast in England. However, we went out on a Sunday to get a roast. We physically couldn't get one. You heard that right. So every place we went to, they didn't have any left. But like we went out for dinner at 2 o'clock in the day, like, which to me is like prime roast time. So we tried like 4 or 5 restaurants, and in the end we just had to give up because we physically couldn't get one. And when I would go in and ask did they have any roast left, they were kind of just like, no, they're all gone, as if like I was an idiot. But it's like, who goes for a roast like before 1 o'clock in the day? It just seemed very bizarre to me. I was incredibly disappointed by it. So if any English people could please explain this to me, just do, because I'm just at a loss. Like, what time do you go out for a roast dinner at? But it wasn't even roasts. There was one and they had this like vegetarian lentil lasagna, sounded incredible. And when I asked for it, she was like, oh, we don't have it. And I was like, all right, okay. And then she was like, actually, I better tell you what we don't have. And I was like, what? Because again, this has never happened in Ireland. She then proceeded to go through the menu where half of it wasn't available. I was like, okay, maybe this is just a once-off. But no, it happened in every single restaurant we went to except one. So one of them, literally the whole menu was unavailable except for one little section. And then in the other ones, there was always like a big amount of stuff that was unavailable. And again, I just don't get it, because like, I eat out very regularly in Ireland. Like, food is my life. Eating in restaurants is one of my favourite things to do. And I just feel like it's incredibly rare that I've gone to a restaurant here and been told that it's not available. Never mind half the menu. So I don't know what that's about. Again, maybe you can tell me, is that normal, or is the north of England just special? Because it seemed to be a big thing in the north of England that menus weren't available. Very strange. And my final food thing, which again, this was very weird to me. So the first restaurant I went into with my brother and my family, and I asked for a Coke. That's all I said. I said, can I have a Coke? She was like waiting for me to say something else, and I was kind of like, okay, I don't know what else you need from me. I just want a Coke. And then she said, pint or half pint? And I was like, what? Because again, in Ireland, you ask for a Coke, they have like, you know, the little glass bottles or like the cans, and they just pour it in a glass and give it to you. So there's no like measurement. You just ask for a Coke and you get a Coke. But in England, you have to specify if you want a half pint or a pint, which is fine once you get used to it. That was baffling to me initially. And then the weirdest part of that was when I got my, did I get a half pint or pint? I must have got a half pint. Who the hell drinks a pint of Coke? But anyway, when I got my half pint of Coke, took a sip, it was Coke Zero. Well, I nearly cried. I'm sorry, like if I want Coke, I want Coke. I asked for Coke. But again, in England, you have to specify that you want normal Coke. And I said it to my brother, I was like, what the hell is this? And he said that that was a big thing in England because he lives there, and that like drinking like Pepsi Max and Coke Zero would be the norm. So like if you ask for Coke, they assume you want Coke Zero. But if you want the normal delicious Coke, you have to specify. So I did not make that mistake again. In Ireland, you would specify you want Coke Zero, not the other way around. So that was a weird one. So yeah, food wasn't as enjoyable in the UK as I had hoped. And I think the more annoying thing was everything on their menus looked incredible. Like they had more like vegetarian options. They had amazing food. It was just that none of it was ever available to try it. So maybe England has the best food ever, but I just didn't get to see it because I would only ever get to try like the plainer things. I ended up having like curries most of the time I was there because that's kind of all that was ever available on the menus. So yeah, that was weird. What else? One of my final impressions was that English people absolutely love car boot sales. Like insanely love car boot sales, because I really wanted to go to a car boot sale because as I was a kid, like if I was homesick from school, I would watch like all those English shows, like the antique ones and the car boot sale. I can't even remember what they're called now. There was one about car boot sales and I always used to watch that when I was sick, and I was like, oh, car boot sales are great in England, and they are, but people bloody love them. Like we went to one in Seaham, and I'm not joking when I say the car park for this car boot sale, it was like a car park you'd see for a festival. Like it was huge. It was like fields and fields and fields both sides of the road, and it was packed to the point where there was queues of cars. Like there was full on like traffic for about 10 minutes down the road of people waiting to get spots in these car parks to go to the car boot sale. It was just incredible. And they sell everything. And they're also a lot cheaper than Ireland too, because I find like the charity shops in Ireland and the car boot sales, like people want to get as much money as they can for things, so things aren't that cheap. But in England, it was a whole other story. I actually got like a brand new, unworn Topshop winter jacket for £2. For £2. You wouldn't see the like in Ireland, like. So yeah, they love their car boot sales. I knew that already, but just seeing it in action was just very enjoyable. Yeah. Oh, I thought it was done and then I just remembered another one. England is so green. Like everyone says, you know, Ireland is the Emerald Isle, Ireland is really green, and it is, and that's why I love it. But England, the like landscape is just absolutely stunning. Now again, we were in northern England and we went through like the Northumbria National Park. Sorry, a tractor just went by there. Hope you couldn't hear that. Northumberland. We were in Northumberland National Park, so maybe that's why the scenery was just incredible. But it's like Ireland, but so vast. Like we were driving down this road, I feel like it was called like the A60 or something. I'm not sure. But anyway, it was like just this road, but you like went, like it was kind of like downhill, and all you could see for miles was just these wide open green fields. And like again, that's what we have in Ireland, but each field was like 10 times bigger than a field in Ireland. It was just incredible, and it was like hilly. Oh, like if I close my eyes I can picture that exact view, and it was just the most beautiful thing. It was near Sycamore Gap. It was like along Hadrian's Wall, and it was just stunning. And it just made me think, like, we talk so much and we hear so much from tourists about how like the scenery in Ireland is like unmatched, and it kind of is unmatched, but parts of England anyway are so similar but on a bigger scale. Actually made me want to go back. Like I was literally writing down things in my phone to go back to the next time. I actually have a camper van, so I really want to do like a full-on England road trip, Wales road trip and Scotland road trip, so maybe they'll be coming someday soon. Also, I feel like England is just so similar to Ireland, which again, I know we're like literally beside each other, and I know we have a very connected past, so it makes sense. But like I just think things like the sense of humour is so similar, which was nice, because even though I was in a different country, it just felt like I was at home there. Like it just felt like you could slot right into life in England and it wouldn't be really any different than it is at home. But yeah, they were the main things. I just feel like they were so friendly and polite. The country was beautiful. The towns, I'm sorry, I didn't even talk about the towns yet. Like just like the architecture and like how so much has been preserved. And again, there's a reason why old Ireland hasn't been preserved. But the fact that they've preserved so much of like their old architecture, it's honestly just stunning to drive through the towns there. Like they're just beautiful. So anyway, they're the first impressions. I do intend on going back for further road trips, as I would love to see more of the country, and I also want to see more of Scotland and Wales as well. But anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe. While our sense of humours are similar, I feel like I will make my final decision on who has the better sense of humour, Ireland or England, depending on the comments of this video. because I feel like I'm gonna have pissed a few people off. But anyway, please like the video also. And that's about it. Chat to you after.